Please welcome to the stage, Monica Hardy-Whaley, President of the National Center for APEC.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Monica Hardy-Whaley, and I'm the president of the National Center for APEC. And we are embarking right now on 2 days of conversations under the umbrella of creating economic opportunity. These 2 days of activities are a culmination of a year and a half of work for our team at the National Center for APEC, and I'm so proud and pleased with all of them. So I really appreciate their hard work. Also really pleased today that we are able to kick off the sessions with a very special conversation that's going to include Secretary Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce of the United States, who actually was the person who was at the host committee kickoff 18 months ago. So we're just really pleased that she's able to join us for this kickoff this morning. And also for the leadership of our three co-chairs, Mary Barra and her team at General Motors, Al Kelly and his team at Visa, and Kevin Ali and his team at Organon have just been terrific partners and real leaders in bringing the U.S. business community and the international business community together for these events. We're just delighted to have you here. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our co-chairs to have a conversation with our good friend Diane Brady. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage, Alfred F. Kelly Jr., Executive Chairman of Visa.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning to everybody. I hope everybody's having a good time in San Francisco, which is Visa's headquarters city. So as we begin the day, I thought I'd share a couple of fun facts about our host city. San Francisco is a remarkably small city, 7 miles long by 7 miles wide. That said, the Golden Gate Park is larger than New York City's famous Central Park, over 1,000 acres and 20% larger than Central Park. The city is built on more than 50 hills, including Twin Peaks, Nob Hill, and Russian Hill. San Francisco is home to the second largest Chinatown outside of Asia, and it has the largest and oldest Japantown in the United States. The United Nations Charter was signed in San Francisco in June of 1945, and it is in San Francisco where Irish coffee was first introduced to the United States in 1952. With that public service announcement done, it is my honor to welcome you to the APEC CEO Summit. This summit is a critically important forum for public and private sectors to come together with a shared objective of helping to shape the future of APEC economies. These APEC economies are very important to Visa. Excluding the United States, over 50 billion Visa transactions took place in APEC economies last year, and 1/3 of our global offices are in APEC economies. That said, we're even more excited about the future. There's an incredible opportunity to digitize more payments, to enable more small businesses, to improve financial literacy, and to include more people in the financial mainstream with a focus on the underserved and women-owned businesses. As we begin the day, I want to acknowledge my friend and our Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. In my opinion, Gina has been an outstanding cabinet member and an incredible advocate of U.S. businesses and U.S. workers, and a special champion to small businesses, in particular women-led businesses. Gina has worked tirelessly on so many fronts, and I thank her for her wonderful public service. And Kevin Ali, it has been a great honor to serve with you as co-chair of the Private Sector Host Committee, along with Mary Barra. So thank you to all of you, and let me turn the stage over to my friend and the fellow co-chair, Kevin Ali from Organon.
Please welcome to the stage, Kevin Ali, Chief Executive Officer of Organon.
Good morning, and thank you, Al. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to address this distinguished audience and welcome you as we open this summit. While much has changed in the decades since the first APEC gathering just north of here in Washington State, APEC continues to play an important role as an incubator for ideas that can help shape the global landscape. But I don't have to tell you that. You already recognize the benefits. U.S. companies invest nearly $1.5 trillion in member APEC economies. The APEC region is crucial to the prosperity of the United States. It's home to our biggest customers in the world. While we are together during these next few days, we can put forward pioneering ideas that accelerate shared solutions that advance a resilient and sustainable future for all of us. As the CEO of a global healthcare company, I'm looking forward to discussing the possibilities for breakthroughs in science and technology that will unlock untapped potential. And when you consider that APEC economies account for 40% of the world's population and about 3/5 of the global economy, the rewards will be significant. We must address, among other things, the demographic trends that pose a significant challenge to 17 of the 21 APEC economies. Whether it's falling birth rates or high rates of unintended pregnancies, these are serious trends that can't be ignored by any economy, nor solved by anyone in isolation of each other. While each economy has its own fingerprint, our collective handprint is proof that our bonds run deep. The implications for productivity and economic growth are far too important. Expanding women's economic empowerment is one of the keys. By advancing policies that increase access to fertility planning and contraceptive options, more women can participate in the workforce, enabling economies to grow and thrive by becoming more inclusive. It's important to look at the unmet health needs of women beyond reproductive health. We must take a holistic view that encompasses all her life stages. Now, McKinsey estimates that $4.5 trillion could be added to the GDP of the Asia-Pacific region alone through increased women's economic participation. That's a 12% increase over a business-as-usual GDP trajectory today. To put it another way, this would be equivalent to adding to the economy a combined size of Germany and Austria alone each year. And when we foster inclusivity, we drive sustainable growth. As corporate leaders, we know it makes good business sense when everyone, everywhere, has the opportunity and skills to fully participate in any economy. And before I close, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the tensions in the world outside of these walls right now. But let us, during our time together over the next few days, turn all of this dissonance into resonance. We can send a strong message to the world that regardless of which economy we call home, we know there are certain standards and ideals that will benefit all people. That's our future. That's why we're here. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage the Honorable Gina Raimondo, the 40th U.S. Secretary of Commerce, and our moderator, Diane Brady, Assistant Managing Editor of Forbes.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Al. I'm grappling with the reality that Irish coffee was invented in San Francisco. Secretary Raimondo, it's an honor to have you here. My first trip to APEC was in 2011, which is the last time the U.S. hosted. Back then, there was conversation about Trans-Pacific Partnership, pivot to Asia. I'd love to hear what the administration's priorities are this time around.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a successful APEC so far. I'd say some of the same and some different. I think people ask me all the time, is globalization dead? I don't think so, and I certainly hope not. If anything, it's a more connected world than it's ever been. It is also true, though, that some of the way globalization played out and free trade agreements in the past have not delivered equally for everyone. There have definitely been winners and losers, and a lot of people in America have suffered because of that. So what we are trying to do, one of the things that I'm very focused on, is deepening our ties in the Indo-Pacific. You have to remember, I think back to when I started this job and when President Biden took office, the U.S. had been largely absent from the Indo-Pacific for like the 5 years before the president took office. I remember the first trip I went on to Asia. I went to Malaysia, I went to Singapore, I went to Tokyo. It was unbelievable. Like, where have you been? Are you back? Will you stay back? Are you a durable partner? So what is our strategy? Number one, to be a permanent, present, durable force and partner in the region. And number two, to show up economically, to put money to work in the region. We're doing IPEF now, Indo-Pacific Economic Partnership. Let's deploy U.S. private sector capital in the region, in climate, in infrastructure, in supply chains, in a way that strengthens our economy and also builds their economies, especially of the ASEAN developing countries.
So I want to ask, because I love this sort of combination of the public and private sector leaders, I wanted to start with you, Al. To what are your priorities, Visa's priorities engaging with APEC? I.e., why would you co-chair?
Well, I co-chair because I was asked and it's important, and we're not only here in the United States, but we're in our home city. APEC economies are important to us, and it aligns with our purpose as a company to uplift everyone everywhere by being the best way to pay and be paid. What resonates with me is helping small and micro businesses, increasing the level of digitization in the world, seeing better and greater digital trade. And one of the things that's great about forums like this is that they become a bit of a forcing device. And I'm very proud to announce this morning that three things that are important that Visa's going to do. One is we're going to announce a $100 million grant from our foundation to support women and underserved organizations in APEC economies over the next 5 years. Thank you. Secondly, we're proud to announce that 3 years ago we made a commitment to digitize 50 million small businesses around the world, and we've significantly exceeded that goal and have digitized 67 million. But we're not done. The third element of our announcement is that we are going to launch something called the Small and Micro Business Accelerator, aimed at bolstering and fueling the next level of enablement and growth and digitization for small and micro businesses around the world. I've talked to the Secretary about this many times. Small businesses, I don't care if you're talking about the United States or the smallest economy in the world, small businesses are the engine of growth in these countries, and we have to do more to help them, and we're committed at Visa to do everything we possibly can to do just that.
Now there's pressure on you to make an announcement. I'm just kidding. But talk about the engagement. I know you spoke about women's health, but what is it that Organon's getting out of your engagement with APEC?
Well, Organon is present in 19 of the 21 APEC economies. And we have a portfolio of products that really support the demographic resilience, especially in the women's health space. And so, these are challenging times that we're facing right now. And I thought that it was really important, given our women-centric view in terms of our R&D efforts, to be able to bring new innovations to meet significant unmet needs that exist today holistically across the APEC economies, to bring this to the agenda, to create a movement whereby right now this is the right time to talk about women's health R&D, women's health support, women's equity, health equity. And as a result of that, to bring decision makers together to ultimately have a good discussion, and that was ultimately why I wanted to be part of this. Right. I'm very proud.
So, Secretary Raimondo, I mean, this is in many ways the culmination of many meetings this week, and you mentioned sort of engaging the U.S., re-engaging with the rest of the world. I'm curious, you get into rooms we don't get to go. What are you hearing from allies, from your counterparts in other APEC economies?
Yes, thank you. A lot of excitement. Yesterday, I led a ministerial for the IPEF countries, so there were 13 countries in the room. It was really exciting. I mean, there was a buzz in the room. The demand signal from the countries is for the United States, for United States presence, supply chain, manufacturing, money, upskilling, like Al said, technical assistance, is through the roof. I mean, I think that they are thrilled to have us back and hoping that it is enduring. And it's on us and private sector to make sure that it's enduring. But yeah, I mean, they were almost giddy in this meeting yesterday, and because there's a feeling of excitement.
Great. So I mentioned before the public-private nature of this, which is one of the things that I think really sets this summit apart. It sets this meeting apart. Where do you see the greatest opportunities for collaboration? I'm going to go to you first.
Well, one of the themes of APEC this year is really demographic resilience. What does that mean? Well, basically, in the APEC regions, many of the countries actually either are facing falling birth rates or unintended pregnancies. Look across the channel, or they can actually have both in the same country. And so, trying to find ways of being able to enable the ways of dealing with some of the issues around resiliency is something that we're focused on. We've actually worked with APEC in order to bring together essentially a kind of a, let's call it Smart Families Initiatives. That is
Smart Families Initiative.
That's right. And it is a playbook by which economies can look, APEC economies can look in terms of ministers of health or ministers of the economy to better understand how do we solve, what edge of that reproductive continuum are we dealing with here. Many in APEC are actually saying, well, what can we do to ultimately address the demographic pressures that we're facing? And something like the Smart Families Initiatives are actually ways of being able to do a public-private partnership in order to make significant headway so that it's not something that you're addressing from the ground zero, that you know how to deal with it.
I don't know if you want to add thoughts to that, or also because you've had this experience, give advice to your peers in the crowd when it comes to engaging with government or your peers in other countries.
Well, sadly, millions and millions of people around the world don't have access to clean drinking water and food, and that's a horrific problem. But by our estimates, there's 2 billion people in the world who are outside the financial mainstream, people who don't understand how any of the basics of finance. And if you don't have economic prosperity, you're not going to advance. And economic prosperity requires the broadest level of participation. And it takes a village, and that's why I think what we've tried to do under Secretary Raimondo's leadership in the United States of bringing businesses and the government together is critical. And in my mind, it's not only good and important and an imperative for our business, but I think it's good for global society, for all of us to lean into this, to try to find ways to have actionable impact so that we can help this world in which we all coexist as human beings to be a better place.
So I know this is the opening session, obviously many more discussions to come. I want to give each of you a chance to just give some quick closing thoughts, call to action, whatever you want. I'm going to start with you, Kevin.
Well, I'll throw out a little math in the sense of what I mentioned in my opening remarks, that McKinsey, if you can even believe what they're signaling, that you can generate $4.5 trillion to the Asia-Pacific economy if you do more in terms of health equity and for women, to engage them more into the society, into the economy. That is ultimately the same, essentially generating more growth than anything that is available today. So health is wealth in the sense that we need to invest more in women's health. And you saw the White House just made a statement just a few days ago in that regard. So I think it's very important.
Quick thoughts from you?
Look, I think dialogue, sharing thoughts, sharing best practices, leaning into all of these various discussions is what we all have to do. There's no shortage of best ideas up from every corner of the earth.
And I will give the last word to you, Secretary.
Thank you. So I have to say, you asked me the rooms that I'm in, what am I hearing from other governments, and I said great enthusiasm. That is how I feel also. There are a couple of forces happening now. One is the private sector is redesigning their supply chain for greater resilience. We need to work with the private sector to help enable that and to lean into the Asian-Pacific economies to do that for greater diversification. That provides a huge opportunity to strengthen U.S. business and also strengthen these economies and have greater connectivity. And the second, of course, is all of the innovation that will come out of as we meet the climate challenge. So that just a massive wind, solar, EVs, batteries, new technologies, efficiency. Once again, that's a perfect area for public-private collaboration. Make American companies stronger, create jobs in America, and also invest in Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, et cetera, which gives them an alternative and a tie to the United States and helps our companies continue to innovate to meet the challenges of climate. So, those are two huge factors that give me optimism. And then, underpinning all of that, my call to action, to use your word, is to invite the private sector to work with us. I mean, my job in working with these economies is to create the policy conditions for success. Rule of law, data flows, not against data localization, data flows with trust, et cetera. Whatever you need, upskilling, in order to be successful and do business in these economies, I need to know so I can work towards that and work with my counterparts in the region. Because, that's our job. And I can only advocate for kind of what you share. So the time spent with us in these fora, I think, is very well time spent.
I can't think of a better place to stop than there. So, Secretary Kevin Al, thank you very much. Please join me in thanking our panelists and have fun for the rest of the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane.